Hey guys, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather. We got a severe thunderstorm warning that is up in northern Davidson County. And this thing is for some strong winds that are coming through up there. And so let's go over to velocities and new radar scan coming in now. And this warning is only in effect for the northern tip of Davidson County. And so those of you up on Ivy Point and Greer Road and Dry Creek, Union Hill Road area up there around Goodlettsville and the Bakers and Luton's community, that's where just a minute ago we saw some pretty strong gusty winds. And going back in time here, we saw some of these blues pop up here in the velocity display. Pretty decent microburst there up in northern Davidson County, and that came through just a minute ago. So this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for 60-mile-per-hour winds and perhaps some small hail, but mostly for the 60-mile-per-hour winds. So let's take a look at where this is. Diving down a little bit closer, and it's looking just right here west of Goodlettsville. You have Lower Walkers Creek, you have Licton Pike, you have places like that, and right there around Freeman Hollow and Baker Road. So this is far northern Davidson County. This is the far northern tip of Davidson County up there just north of Goodlettsville, and then kind of coming into the west sides of Goodlettsville. Checking over here to see what the Weather Service is saying, and they're saying that radars show winds. They're getting up to near 60 miles per hour there, and that's when they issued the warning, and so they're going to just kind of see how this rides out. Typically, these microbursts do not last long, so they're pretty quick up and down, and whatever damage is done, it usually doesn't take too long for that to happen. So this was one of these quick fuse, fast warnings that probably won't take too long for it to expire here in a little bit. So we got Greer Road right up there. We got Licton Pike right here, a main road that runs up there. You got Freeman Hollow Road there. Back here to the west, you got Union Hill, and we got a new radar scan coming around, so we'll see kind of what it shows up there. This right here is Baker Road. Up there in northern Davidson County, and right here you got Old Springfield Pike. Radar is indicating that winds have actually come down just a little bit. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not strong damaging winds still occurring up there, but radar is bringing those down just a little bit, and hopefully hopefully this thing will start cooling off here in just a minute and not blowing so hard. Coming into the west sides of Goodlettsville, back up toward Greer Road, and let's see, what's the Union Hill up that way. Let's go over to regular radar and kind of see where the heavy rain is. Heavy rain stretching through this storm all the way from the main highway that runs out of Goodlettsville up toward Ridgetop, so Highway 41. Heavy rain stretching all the way from there and Tendon Road back through Bakers and Old Springfield Pike and Freeman Hollow Road, Licton Pike, Dry Creek, Union Hill. Now, this is an area that does have a flood advisory in effect, and this flood advisory is in effect for a lot of areas that have a lot of hills and hollows up there. This is a very wooded area back up here in northwestern Davidson County as you get to the edge of the Highland Rim, and so water typically runs off of these hills pretty quickly straight for the creeks, and a lot of these creeks have roads that run right alongside them, like Licton Pike. Most of the way on Licton Pike, you're riding right next to Walker's Creek there, and Mansker Creek in that area up there in Goodlettsville. So if the creeks come up, that could pose a problem for some of these roads that run right alongside the creeks, and you really don't want to be in that situation. So we got a couple of things happening. We have the severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for another 16 minutes here in northern Davidson County, and we also have the flood advisory that's there in effect for basically Joelton back to the northwest. So it's a pretty small area of Davidson County that's included here. And let's go back and do some roads. And just to kind of give you an idea of who is in here, so we got Jackman Road, we got Ridgewood Road there, you got Winding Ridge, Ridgewood, Union Hill, Ivy Point, Union Hill. So Union Hill Road runs a good bit across northern Davidson County there. Got a new radar scan coming in. We'll let that come through. So those are kind of some of the areas back to the west side of the warning. And then Goodlettsville is included also in this. So as we go down to looking at Goodlettsville, you guys right there in Goodlettsville proper are also included in this as well. And most of your weather, though, most of your rain is still right just back to your west. Looks like we got a new warning that just came out, flash flood warning. This is for Davidson County. This is talking about this heavy rain that we were seeing up there in northern Davidson County. And so it looks like we now have a flash flood warning in effect as well. So our polygon colors are filling up here. We have this grayish brown one. That was a significant weather advisory, as we used to call them, special weather statement that came out first. It's kind of the junior severe thunderstorm warning. And then we had the severe thunderstorm warning come out for northern Davidson County. That's the yellow. And then now we have the green, which is a flash flood warning. So let's talk just a minute about the flash flood threat up there in northern Davidson County. As we mentioned just a second ago, this is an area of the county that has a lot of hills and a lot of hollows and a lot of creeks, a lot of wooded areas. And so when the rainfall hits these hills, it's not uncommon up in this part of the county for rain to just go straight down to those creeks. And those creeks can fill up pretty quickly. And a lot of the creeks up here have roads that run right alongside them. So you got like Walker's Creek and Mansker Creek and some other unnamed creeks, Baker's Creek and some others up there that run right alongside these roads. And so that is a problem when those creeks come up, is that they can pretty quickly cover those roads. So that is a problem up there. So we're getting alerts pretty quickly here. So that's something to keep in mind with this flash flood warning up there through Goodlettsville and western and northwestern Davidson County is there might be a little bit of a bigger threat than usual in different parts of the county, a pretty big threat for water to come over roads because so many of them run next to creeks. All right, so let's talk about kind of what to do in different situations because these warnings are here. For the severe thunderstorm warning, we're looking at mainly the threat of some strong gusty winds. And so if you're outside or know anybody outside up there in Goodlettsville, surely by now they have gotten inside. If you know anybody cutting grass or doing something outside, they need to be inside just because of these winds, and the lightning has been atrocious up here. I've seen some video of some pretty intense, pretty crazy lightning up here. Radar has come down on the winds just a little bit, but we are not writing this thing off yet as far as the winds go. Weather Service is continuing the warning, at least at this point, until 3:15. And let's see what the new radar scan shows coming in, new one coming in right now. So the Weather Service decides to continue this warning. And, we're still seeing some gusty winds, especially down toward Rivergate Mall and down toward, let's see, that's going to be, down Dickerson Road and down I-65. So we're looking at winds in the 30, 40 mile per hour range, as indicated by radar. And that definitely could be stronger depending on how the radar is able to read this. So the severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for another 12 minutes, and that's going to be for 60 mile per hour winds and maybe some small hail. And strongest winds right now appear to still be on the west side of Goodlettsville and toward Dry Creek and Union Hill Road areas. A lot of trees up there, so hopefully that's not becoming a problem, but strong winds up there in the northern part of the county. All right, let's also talk about the flash flood warning that is also in effect for a couple hours here up there in northern Davidson County. And that's going to be for the rain, of course, and for how hard and how fast that came down and is coming down up there in the northern part of the county. So we got a couple things going on and a couple things to watch. Let's talk about your reports just for a second, because we would love to have reports from you as this comes through. And so if you know if you have any reports to send us, use hashtag TSpotter. As always, we love to get those reports and to see what's going on where you are, especially if you live up there in the northern part of Davidson County. And there's a lot going on up there right now. So we would love to hear from you and know what's going on up in your area. Just a bunch of lightning up there. Really a lot of lightning going on. And in fact, let's switch over and look at, let's go over here and look at a different radar here. And all these, you may not be able to see this, but all these dots here are all cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. And so right up here around Bakers and Luton's and Freeman Hollow, Lower Walker's Creek and Licton Pike areas up there, man, you guys are just getting zapped with lightning. Just a bunch of lightning up there right now. Let's see what David is saying over on Twitter. He's talking about the flash flood warning over there. You can follow David at Nash Severe WX over there. He's the tweeter today, at least for a little while. And so let's see. It looks like we got some scary looking clouds. So we're getting some replies from some people over on Twitter talking about some pretty scary looking clouds up there. No tornado concerns. We're not concerned about tornadoes with this. There really isn't any rotation. This is a pretty classic summertime outflow boundary storm, but it can produce some pretty scary clouds. And also getting a report here. See, somebody reported here a tree. It looks like it pretty well split over there at Ivy Point in Goodlettsville. So again, that's where we were talking about over here on radar. We were talking about the strong winds, Ivy Point, Greer Road. This is Ivy Point right over in here, and so that's where looks like we got a report of a tree that was split over there a minute ago. So that doesn't surprise us. That's why the Weather Service issues these warnings is be aware of this before it gets to you. And this is the kind of stuff it can do. So, again, you can see our polygons here. We got the severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to be in effect for about another 9 minutes, and then we're going to see if the Weather Service decides to keep this going. I just realized I had my lunch plate behind you. Sorry, sometimes you don't get the best background. You just we jump on here whenever we can. I just looked at the camera and realized my rice and vegetables plate was right behind me. So a couple of things going on here is that severe thunderstorm warning for another 9 minutes. That's in effect until 3:15, 8 minutes now. And then the flash flood warning is going to, the flash flood warning is going to be in effect for another couple of hours here. All right. Well, let's go down and look at velocities again, shall we? Let's look and see how the storm's behaving as far as winds go. And, it's going to be a little tough to see here. It looks like we have some gusty winds right there around Amqui, Davidson Academy, Old Hickory Boulevard. Looks to be where the strongest winds are, 30, 40 miles per hour there. I'm going to go over and look at Tbna just for a second. And we're going to see if there's any other indication of strong winds on Tbna. Yeah, actually, let's back out and we can do it here. Let's get it pulled up. All right. So this is Tbna. This is out of Nolensville. Yeah, it's showing something similar here. It looks like the most gusty winds are going to be approaching down almost to the 65-24 split up north of Skyline, or around Skyline, really, 30, 40 miles per hour there. So Tbna is showing the strongest winds right here kind of south of Ivy Point now, and really on the south side or southwest side of Goodlettsville, and down toward the 24-65 split. So I know the polygons are kind of a lot going on here, but if you can kind of see through the lines and see the greens here, that's going to be your about 50 mile per hour winds there, indicated by Tbna, which is down in Nolensville, and that's going to be right around Skyline, all right? So let's go back and look at the Old Hickory radar, the radar at the National Weather Service office. And let's see. Yeah. All right. Tell you what, let's see if we can get David in here. Let's see what David's up to today. So again, we got this severe thunderstorm warning for about another 6 minutes, and we're going to see if we can get David in here. David's over on the tweeter, and let's see what he has to say. We'll let him in when he joins. All right. So we're back on the Weather Service radar here. And let's go over to reflectivity. This shows the rain. I'm going to put some earbuds in here before we let Will in. And that should make things a little bit easier. So while I get them coordinated to come in, y'all just hang tight. Hey, Will.
Hey, Andrew.
There he is. What's going on, man? We got a severe thunderstorm warning. What are you up to?
I see that, right? Wasn't really expecting that. I had some
Yeah.
eye on it for, maybe some of the stuff we were expecting tomorrow, but thought it was below severe parameters. But it looks like I don't know, we got some stuff happening up there.
Well, it's the way it goes, isn't it?
It
It's the
is.
way it goes.
Way it goes, buddy.
Let's see. Note from the Weather Service here. They're going to issue a special weather statement here till 3:45. That's going to cover these storms that are up here in the northern part of our county. And so, guys, I would assume, and we don't have confirmation on this yet, but they've issued this special weather statement. It might take the place of this warning here in about 4 minutes when this sucker expires. So that would be nice if that's the case, which means this thing's dropped below severe limits. But it had some spikes on it there for a little bit. It was pretty ugly, and but hopefully the strongest winds came down and then relaxed pretty quickly. David, I'm looking at more of a flooding threat with this at this point. I see velocities are coming down, maybe below severe limits, but I've been talking a little bit about the flooding threat. Is that kind of what you're seeing too?
Yeah, I wanted to mention, I just subtweeted a photo off of Myatt Drive that was about 21 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And it looks like, I called it a Marge Simpson Wendy Chef hat because it looks like if Marge Simpson was huge and had a big Wendy Chef hat, it looks kind of like a tornado. It's not.
Yeah.
And I just want everybody to hear me on this one. That is probably some weird phenomenon going on locally over there. But I just want to get out in front of it. It probably get passed around Twitter. So I just want to say, y'all, that's not tornado. These cells I was looking at are crazy efficient. As Andrew showing you there, they're pulling down 2+ or actually almost 2 inches an hour. And these are really slow moving storms. And if you zoom out and look at the radar, there's more kind of coming up I-40 from the west. And as that happens, these storms will start to train over. The other thing that's going to happen is the outflow boundary that is on those storms north of Nashville are going to create new storms in Nashville. So I think we'll likely see rain and thunderstorms with some gusty winds and frequent cloud to ground lightning down into Williamson County. In fact, the Weather Service just issued a special weather statement indicating that wind gusts of 50 miles an hour and pea-sized hail will be possible for almost all of Davidson County, to include Nashville, Donaldson, Hermitage, Brentwood, even Percy Priest Lake, all the way down almost to Franklin and Fairview. You're going to feel a breeze come in from the north here, depending on where you are. It's just now crossing I-40. And in the wake of that breeze, after the breeze passes, that'll probably prop up some new storms. So this is kind of really bad timing, and I don't know if you talked about it at all, Andrew, but the lightning is crazy. So soccer practice at 5 at Bellevue isn't going to happen unless you're irresponsible and want to get hit by lightning. Probably not a good idea, but the fields will probably be too wet. And it looks like this is just one of those where we're going to have to slow down on our commute. That flash flood warning is no joke, and I am concerned that we might see between 2 and 2.5 inches of rain in an hour, which, if that happens, will be more than we can take without having flooding on roadways. So that means if you're going home to the north of the 2465 split north of downtown, that's where the heaviest rain will be. So if your exit is the Jolton exit, or if you're over by Fontenelle, or certainly if you're going up towards Rivergate, there's going to be a lot of ponding on the roadway. And on some of those side roads, we might get some flash flooding. So please don't drive through that stuff, y'all.
Yeah, David, I was talking about a second ago. This rain is falling up in an area. It's right along the Highland Rim, or the edge of the Highland Rim. And we don't handle flooding well up there. And historically, we've had some really nasty floods up in this area that have come from these summertime storms. And we've had some August floods up there. And so I'll go ahead and mention just a couple of places that are prone to flooding up in this area. And it's downstream of where this rain is falling. So, for example, if you live in Goodlettsville, you know that the campground at the corner of Old Springfield Pike and the Highway 41, you know that it floods in a really, really heavy rain. I would watch out for that today. And that we've seen that happen in August storms where heavy rain, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches of rain has fallen up in the Mansker Creek watershed here, and we've seen water come down and has flooded that RV park. All right, I would be watching that on a day like today. On roads like Licton Pike, where you got Walker's Creek and all that flowing right down there next to the road, which, by the way, the severe thunderstorm warning has just expired. You've got a lot of, or you got a creek, Walker's Creek and all that runs right by Licton Pike. All right, be careful on that. This is one of those days to watch out for flooding there. And several, 5, 6, 10 other examples like that along the roads up here. So this is one of those days to watch out for flooding in localized areas up there in northern Davidson County, where that water tends to flow really fast down toward the creeks, and those creeks run next to roads in a lot of cases. And so if you live near that Mansker Creek up there, kind of along the highway, north of Goodlettsville, be watching for that water starting to come up. And if it starts to come up, don't wait to act. Go ahead and do what you need to do to get away from it. So, guys, that severe thunderstorm warning has expired. We're going to be watching carefully this flooding threat, because let me go back to the reflectivity here before we hop off. And going back to the reflectivity, the rain is still there. So the wind may not be, but the rain is still there, and we still have some rain to go. So looking back to the west, the cell just isn't moving much, and we saw this earlier today up in Robertson County and other places. These storms that kind of get built off this outflow, they're getting fed the food. This outflow boundary is feeding them food, and they're just eating and not moving anywhere. So we're going to keep an eye on the flooding threat. So we'll be over on Twitter, and Will's going to be watching reports. Use hashtag TSpotter to send us any kind of severe report, whether you've got a tree down in your yard, you see some damage, something like that, or if you see a place that is flooding. If you can safely let us know about that, that'd be fantastic. We'll get that to the Weather Service, and other stakeholders get that information as well, and it's very helpful. Anything else, guys?
Just practice common sense with that flooding. Don't risk your lovely or even your junker car going through a water-covered road, y'all, because that water is powerful and you don't know what's underneath it.
Yeah, even if it's a beater, it still doesn't float.
That's right. You're still in it, even if it's a beater.
Your car is not a boat, Carl.
That's right. That's right. All right, we're going to hop off of here. Flash flood warning remains in effect for about another, hour and a half, something like that. And we'll be watching that threat. And then we'll especially be watching as well the storms as they move down to the southeast. And we'll be over on Twitter. Thanks, y'all.